Do you wake up in the morning and check your analytics straight away to find they're not exactly what you were hoping for? You didn't see the growth you wished for and you just feel discouraged. Let's rewind. In this video I want to try to get you more of these days. If you find yourself frustrated again and again with the slow growth of your site, then this video is for you. You need to understand each of these mistakes because each of them could hold your site back. And how do I know this? Because I've done every single one of them. The first one of these mistakes is what we call low topical relevance. And I want to use a little analogy here to explain what I mean. When I visit someone, I like to check the bookshelf to see what they are interested in. I might find a philosophy book, a book on architecture, and another book on farming. And I'd assume this guy knows a little of this and that. So this other guy here has a book about 501 must-see destinations, a book on Switzerland, and another book on France. He's probably the guy to talk to about traveling. He might be an expert on that. It's basically the same thing with Google. The more articles you have around the same stuff, the same niche, and so the easier it is for you to rank and the faster you'll get off the ground. I think most of us can figure this out and understand this concept. But really, how narrow is enough and how broad can you go? I want to take you back to a test site that I built with absolutely no topical relevance, and something really interesting is happening here. I talked about this test before, and if you haven't seen that video, click here. But over time here, see how it's actually picking up. I was really surprised to see this, but it just took way longer. So there's only 37 articles on the site, and now it's up to more than 500 page views per article. I just picked topics that I thought would have a lot of search volume, and then I didn't care about the topical relevance to see if such a site would take off. And it will take off eventually, just way slower than normally. If you want to follow this case study here, subscribe to my channel. Now let's circle back to this question about when do you have this topical relevance? Think of it as a line, as a scale. So on the one side here you have articles focused around some of the same stuff, and at the other end, not so much. So the more focus here, the better, and the faster your site will grow. Whenever I can, I like to start a site super focused, where I just start writing 20, 30, 40, 50 articles about the same product or the same aspects of a service, or something like that. So this could be 30 articles about windows, for example. How to clean them, how to change them, what's the difference between X, Y, and Z, different types of glass. This is something you can do on any site, and that's also why I like to keep my sites really broad. So again, this circles back to the idea of starting on a broad domain name so you can go in many different directions, because you might think that you want to write 30 articles about windows, so maybe something you're a little bit more passionate about, but then you figure out you can't really find these underserved topics, so you want to move over here, or maybe you do both, and over time you'll see where you get the most traffic. And then you need to continue building out that category to establish this authority with Google. If you get antsy and you move on too quickly here, you might miss some really good opportunities. You need to understand that spending 10 or 20 more hours on the topic research and really finding some good relevant topics that are related can mean a world of difference when we look at the blog growth afterward. The problem is many times that we don't really feel all that productive when we're just doing analyzing and planning and topic research. It's not until we actually get down to write that we feel like we're producing something. And we too often talk about that you just need to produce more content, that's what people see, that's more lines in the water. But really, if you could just spend some more time planning that content strategy and finding those related underserved topics, that can mean such a big difference later when you're gonna look at the traffic stats on your site. I very often hear people say that they can't find any underserved topics, that all the niches are taken and it's just impossible. But it's really just time there to dive deeper. Try to come at the niche from another angle. Let's go back to the example about windows. Probably the worst and most boring example ever. Let's say there's just no way you can find 30, 40, 50 related topics about windows. So then you move on to check for patio furniture, you check for how to take care of the lawn, and maybe you check out a few more things, and then you conclude, everything's taken, which couldn't be further from the truth. Maybe here's time to go into Amazon or Wayfair or one of the bigger retail stores online where you'll see all the products that is for a house or for the garden. And try just to look through the product categories. Maybe look for bestsellers, some products where they have a lot of different options. See if there's anything there where you could start answering people's questions. And it's totally fine if this takes days, it's supposed to, because it means that you'll find something that nobody else dived into. Once you find one of these areas where nobody really covered it well, you will have a great start with your site, and you're ready to start a site with topical relevance, underserved topics, and you can look forward to a great deal of traffic and better mornings. The next thing that I often see holding sites back is that they are writing on too small topics, articles that get very little traffic. And many times this is about not targeting beginners. Take a look at this graph here. Out here to the left, you have all the beginners. So this could be anything from trying a new diet to playing golf. And then you'll have way fewer people who actually start doing it. And you'll have very few people who ever get really good at anything. So let's take the example of a new diet here. We have a lot of people researching how to get thinner, how to lose weight, and how different diets could help them do that. And of course, you have way fewer people who actually start on a diet and actually start eating something else. And again, you'll have very few people who ever stick to a plan and actually get really nerdy about it. Another good example here from one of my own sites is about tiny houses. So these cute little things on wheels, there's just a lot of interest about this. It's so cute, it's a fantastic dream about living small, living simple, but very few people actually start planning it and get very serious about it. That also means that an article comparing prices and looking at where can you do it gets a lot of attention, but as soon as it comes to moving in and trying to live in such a place, we have few people, and we have very few people who actually have the real life problems of owning such a tiny house. So once you understand this is really great for a couple of reasons. First of all, your competitors might not get this. And secondly, you'll be targeting people before they make a purchase, what we call pre-buyer topics. And that again means that your affiliate links will be more effective because people who click them haven't made a purchase, they haven't made up their mind yet, and you're actually able to place that cookie on their site before they make a purchase. So those people actually buying a golf club and going out to test it out, they will be among your audience. Remember, we typically have a 30-day window from people click on our article till they have to make the purchase for us to get a commission through that affiliate link. Unless you're using Amazon, then it's 24 hours. But I don't advise you to build a site completely around Amazon anyway. This is another good reason to move away from Amazon and find some of these much better programs out there. Or even better, contact the stores directly and establish a partnership so you get to negotiate the commissions. But this is something that I talked much more about in this other video, so you can check that out here. Once you have these topics that target beginners, it's important that you don't let anybody write this without a good editing process. Because if you have expert writers on your site, it's hard for them to get into the shoes of a beginner because they haven't been there for many years. Experts will many times come from an angle that beginners don't understand. They'll use difficult words and lingo that they don't even know yet. Make sure that somewhere there in the process, a beginner will have a look at it so you can get rid of this lingo and the stuff that they don't understand. Now, how do you figure out if a topic has a lot of searches or not? We've seen a couple of times how keyword research tools are many times off because they focus on a specific keyword or just one phrase. Well, many times we rank for a lot of different phrases. The good indicator is to see what people talk about regarding this on Quora and Reddit and forums. How much debate and how many comments and such are there? If somebody asked this question on Quora or Reddit and nobody cared to answer, or maybe just 2 people gave a very quick answer, maybe it's not that big of a deal. Something else you can do is to try and type it into Google and see if you can trigger it from multiple angles with Google autocomplete. But I already talked about that, so there's a video here for you if you're more interested in that. The next thing I want to mention that can also damage the growth of your site is if you have boring titles. Titles that nobody wants to click. You have to be able to compete against the other headlines there on Google. This is an area where Google has changed dramatically over the last couple of years. So I've been doing this for more than a decade, and 7, 8, 10 years ago you had to include a lot of keywords and write in very specific ways in order for Google to understand what your article was about. But today it's way more important that you write something that relates to human beings, something that will get them to want to click your articles because Google will figure out just alright what the article is about. A lot of SEOs also believe that the more people that interact with your search result there, the higher rankings you get. You actually move up on Google when people click you more. But there's another layer to this problem. It goes deeper because once people get over to your site, once they see your subheadings, they are not really enticing either, and they don't see directly that they find what they came for. They quickly skim to the bottom of the article. So there's two things wrong here. So first of all, Google will see it as a bad signal that people don't like your site because they quickly skip to the bottom and go somewhere else. And secondly, when people stay on your site for a short amount of time, you'll be able to show less ads and you'll earn less money with your site. So this is something that can really have a snowball bad effect on your site if you don't write good titles. But I want to place a little warning here. Don't go overboard and get overly funny with your titles. If you start using dead humor and irony and metaphors, Google can get confused and not understand what the article is about. So you should still write in a clear, concise tone. And this task of working with the headlines is one of my favorite tasks in WordPress because it's so easy once you know how to do this. You don't have to go into each and every article. Let me show you here how it's done much quicker. So when you go to the post section here, first we can clean it up a little bit. You can click up here and select exactly what you want to see. So make sure that you're able to see the whole headline here. Now you'll quickly see which one are too short, maybe some are too long, and if there's something a little funny here. And then you click this button here to change it and update it here without even going into the article. It's a very quick and easy way to go over all your headlines. Once in a while I log into my sites and I'll just bulk check all the headlines like this. It's a very quick and easy task and you really feel like you accomplished something there because you might update 10 headlines in just a few minutes. And there's no need to stress over your Google rankings when you update your headlines like this. I have very rarely seen drops in rankings. As long as you believe you make it better, just go ahead and do it. And you could do a little check prior to updating the headlines where you check which one are actually getting traffic. So you don't end up messing something that already works really well. And also be cautious not to do shocking headlines. Don't go overboard and try to make them overly interesting. Google is very clear on this. They put it like this. Does the headline and or page title avoid being exaggerating or shocking in nature? And this is something I believe Google can pretty quickly check algorithmically. They can see if a lot of people rush into that article but don't really find what they came for. So instead, make sure that you completely deliver on that headline and that it ties nicely into the introduction in that article. So that way people will see that this is exactly what it's about and just deliver the best immediately because then they'll stick around longer. So now that we've fixed some of these issues with your site, check out this other video that will teach you how to rank faster in Google. Because if you can rank faster and you can have more traffic and you can fix these things that I talked about in this video, your blog will be killing it.